Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a top 5 favorite omnibus video, but here's the catch. I'm not including any mutant related titles because otherwise the entire top 5 would be compromised of those titles. So without further ado, here's my top 5 favorite non-mutant omnibuses. Starting at number 5 is the Runaways Omnibus from Brian K. Vaughan. This book focuses on a group of teenagers who discover that their parents are all part of an evil cult that wants to take over the world. So they steal powerful artifacts, have inherent powers, and find some powered friends along the way, and they run away to try and plan for how to stop their parents, and they also get caught up in other events too, and it's just this really fun, youthful vibe that still delivers a satisfying narrative with some definitely interesting plot twists as well. I always enjoy these books that are sort of focused on the trials of adolescence, but they add in the fantastical elements as well that are associated with comics. And the artwork also fits the tone of that very, very well. Maybe its vibe is off-putting for some, but I really like it. And this was full of characters I knew nothing about, but I ended up really liking them all for the most part. This is definitely worth checking out, especially if you like the writing of Brian K. Vaughan, and this book actually has a lot of fans. Maybe not so many people have read it, but pretty much anyone who has read it will tell you that they really enjoyed it, and it's even a lot of those people's favorite book. In a world where Marvel likes to rehash a lot of characters and rehash a lot of events, this book was great because it really felt like a breath of fresh air and something completely original and different. At number 4 on this list, we have the Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus. Hickman is one of my favorite comic book writers. I really enjoy how expansive his stories are and how really interwoven they are with sci-fi concepts. This one might not be for people who are new to the Marvel Universe because it uses a ton of the cast of characters that have been cultivated over the years, but for those who do know those characters, I found this very, very satisfying the way it jumps from group to group. But this book deals with two very exciting Avengers concepts for me, and the first is the Illuminati, which is Marvel's group of arrogant underground heroes and figures making secret moves that they think are for the best, but usually end up biting them back in the butt. And then this book also introduces the Incursion storyline, which is about two worlds colliding at an incursion point, and the heroes have to sort of face off against another world, regardless if the folks there are good or bad, because otherwise the 616 universe will be destroyed. So a lot of it deals with the Avengers getting bigger and trying to solve these bigger scope problems, which is an exciting take on the book. This also leads directly into Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, which is becoming something of a hot topic with the new announcement of the Avengers Secret Wars movie. So get your reading in now before the movie comes out in a few years. At number 3, we've got the sensational SheHulk by John Byrne Omnibus, and this is just such a fun book and my favorite SheHulk book to this day. This is where she becomes the fourth wall breaking green dame that we know and love. And this whole run is kind of a love letter to the medium. Byrne basically just has a ton of fun with the character and the comic book format itself. He even self-inserts a lot, and it's always super interesting and funny when he does that, and SheHulk herself is just so charming and personable too. I much prefer this style of quip and fourth wall break to, say, Deadpool, for example. Additionally, the artwork is also really impressive. I mean, this book is even just enjoyable to flip through and take a look at the layout and the colors and just everything. We've got the SheHulk show that was just released yesterday, and it seems to be taking the same vein as what this run is, so if you like that style, I think you'll like this book even more, to be honest with you. SheHulk just doesn't get enough love in my opinion. I know she's finally gotten a show, but she is such an underrated character when it comes to the comics, so any chance I can get to try and introduce somebody to the character is a chance that I'm going to take. So yeah, pick this up if you like wit, lawyers, and tall green ladies. Or if you just want to see SheHulk argue and yell at a fictionalized version of John Byrne the writer too, that's also another good pickup point. At number 2, we have my very first omnibus ever, actually, and that is the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus by Brian Michael Bendis. This is such a wonderful and lively reimagination of the classic Spider-Man story that is super accessible to anybody, and I love in particular that this run really focuses on him being just some high school smart student struggling in a very realistic way with the problems that just keep snowballing towards him. He's also definitely not super great great at being Spider-Man because he is young and new to it, which makes his missteps and lessons learned from them all the more interesting. There's great artwork by Mark Bagley here too. The dynamic poses we see with Spider-Man in this are just so awesome, and it's another fun book that I like to flip through again every now and then, just to see the artwork and the different versions of the characters, since they're not exactly like the 616 universe. Also, as I alluded to, perfect for new readers. I've lent this out to so many friends who were just a little interested in comics, and they've all come back with glowing reports about this run. Do yourself a favor and pick this book up if you've never read it. It's also going to be getting a volume 2 later in the year, and there's also a Death of Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus out there that might get reprinted, or you can try to find it on a third-party website. That's just to say that there is a ton of great Spider-Man content from the Ultimate Universe. And at the number 1 spot is the New Warriors Omnibus. This is a book I would have never really given a second thought about, didn't know who they were or what the deal was here, but a pal recommended it, and oh my god, sleeper hit of the year for me. This is a team of basically misfits from other books put together here in an effort to get them to work, and work it does. This is a brilliantly written book, and okay, maybe I'm cheating a bit since there are a couple of mutants on the team, but it's not a book about mutants really. They're not the focal point of the story at all, so I think I'm okay. But what I found super engaging about this was the team dynamics and relationships that are navigated throughout the series. It gives off that wonderful soap opera vibe of the X-Men, but then we also get the awesome feats of power and strength. Not to mention, I was pleasantly surprised to notice a theme in the beginning of the book at least, of them essentially just dealing with environmental terrorists, fighting oligarch corporatism, and other socially relevant issues like that intertwined in this series. I always like to say that I really enjoy reading comics that can help teach me things or give me a new perspective on things because that helps me grow, and this is definitely a book that foundationally explores those subjects and can be used as a leaping off point for further research if one was interested. Now that makes it sound super academic and boring, but trust me, this book is anything but, and there's also some really major plot twists that go on in here that are sure to excite you, and you've just got to experience the book for yourself and fall in love with the characters yourself just like I did, so I highly recommend checking this one out. And so there you have it. It does fluctuate occasionally, but right now these are my top 5 favorite Marvel omnibuses that don't have to do with the mutants or the X-Men specifically. So please let me know if you agree with my takes, if any of them surprised you, and I want to know what your top 5 are, so leave that in the comments below, and feel free to include any X-Men or mutant books. I just didn't want to because, like I said, it would have overloaded the video with X-Men stuff. And with that, have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. Take care, guys.